The day my boyfriend's first love was discharged from the hospital. He drove dozens of kilometers just to see her and held a small wedding ceremony with her. He explained, "She'll never be able to walk again. This is her only wish." I couldn't. Refused to help her fulfill it. And what about me? What am I supposed to be? On stage, my current boyfriend is lovingly proposing to someone else. Offstage, my ex-boyfriend sneers at me. "Francesca, I thought you'd be doing so much better after leaving me." Grayson, my ex, is standing right beside me, his voice dripping with sarcasm. So this is what it comes to. I froze. Pressed my lips together, unable to speak. My eyes stayed fixed on the two people in the center of the hospital lobby. Lucas knelt on one knee, slipping a wedding ring onto the bride's finger as she sat quietly in her wheelchair. The lobby erupted in applause. The air felt vibrant. Lifted her veil. That's when I finally saw the star of his show. Lucas's first love, Fernanda. The crowd began to chant, "Kiss, Fernanda." Unable to stand on tiptoe, tilted her head up and puckered her lips, gazing at Lucas with eyes full of longing. Maybe, just maybe, he remembered me as girlfriend of barely a month. Lucas hesitated. A few seconds passed. Then he finally leaned in and kissed her cheek. And then he looked up. He saw me standing at the edge of the crowd. And he saw Grayson, too. Lucas froze, flustered, and instinctively let go of Fernanda's hand. He stepped toward me. Fernanda quickly clutched his arm, her eyes brimming with tears. "Lucas, you can't just leave me like this, ... The guests, clueless about what was going on, turned their heads. They frowned, disapproving. "Who is this woman? What's she doing here? She's ruining a perfectly good wedding." I didn't respond. I couldn't. My eyes stayed locked on Lucas. In front of everyone, he shook off Fernanda's hand and took a few steps toward me. "Fran," he glanced at Grayson, his fist tightening at his side. "Nanda had a car accident. She might never walk again. She just wanted someone to help her experience what it's like to be a bride." Ha! I hadn't said a word yet, but Grayson chuckled coldly. Lucas's expression darkened, his arms tensed, his veins popped, his emotions barely held together. "Fran, I'm sorry I messed up." "Can you, Lucas?" I interrupted softly. "She just wanted someone to help her." "But why did that someone have to be you?" Lucas and I had known each other for nearly a year. We met through mutual friends. I always believed he understood boundaries, but I never imagined that just 1 month into our relationship, he'd do something like this. Lucas understood what I meant, instinctively stepped forward, wanting to reach for me. But before he could, Grayson moved, blocking him with his body. I didn't move, just looked up at the back of Grayson's head. His sudden motion brought us close, too close. And suddenly, I was pulled back 2 years ago. It was late. I was walking back to campus alone. 2 strangers with cigarettes in their mouths blocked my path, demanding my number. I refused, but they wouldn't let me go. One of them reached out and then Grayson appeared. He stepped in front of me like a shield. "Didn't you hear her? She's not interested." He had protected me like that so many times. And now, standing there again, I felt dazed, like time had rewound. Lucas noticed the change too. He hesitated, his fists clenched tighter. "Fran, Lucas," I said, my tone calm and detached. "Let's break up." Words had barely left my lips when Grayson turned around to look at me. I didn't want to stay in that place, surrounded by judgmental eyes. I was ready to leave, but Grayson grabbed my wrist too tightly. I winced. He immediately loosened his grip, then met my gaze. "Shall we go?" Of course, all I wanted now was to escape this absurd, melodramatic scene. Dusk had fallen. City lights were beginning to flicker to life. Grayson followed behind me in silence. Not too close, not too far, but never out of reach. "Grayson." I called softly, letting the breeze carry my voice. It's been a long time, and finally, the weight of everything hit me. The full meaning of our reunion settled in my chest like a storm. His footsteps paused for a few seconds, then resumed. Each step echoed in my heart, soft yet deafening. Grayson chuckled, his tone flat and indifferent. You know, it's been a long time since we last saw each other. Hearing that, I stopped and turned to face him. He stood a few meters away, his brows slightly furrowed, the night's inky darkness wrapping around him, making him feel distant, unapproachable. Grayson, I called his name softly, pulling up a small, tired smile. It's been 6 years, and you still? I let out a quiet sigh. He didn't respond. He just took a few steps forward and stopped right in front of me, his presence heavy and steady. Francesca. He raised his hand and gently touched my face, his thumb brushing the corner of my eye, just staring at me in silence. I squinted at him, trying to ignore the strange flutter in my chest, but he wouldn't let me off so easily. You liked him that much? He asked. You couldn't let him go, so you had to attend his wedding just to finally give up. I turned my face away, slipping free from his touch. Of course I liked him. We were a good match. Otherwise I wouldn't have been with him. I looked him up and down, a faint smile tugging at my lips. But you wouldn't still be hung up on me, would you? Grayson scoffed. Makes you think I'd still like you? Don't forget, Francesca, you were the one who asked for the breakup. Exactly what I expected. I haven't forgotten, I said, shaking my head, unwilling to argue further. By the way, You at the hospital? A sudden shift in topic caught him off guard. He blinked, then replied instinctively. My stomach was acting up. I clicked my tongue. Grayson, you really are a spoiled brat. As soon as I said that, his lips pressed into a firm line. His expression darkened. He remembered why I broke up with him. You're a privileged young master. Dating you felt like I constantly had to prove myself. Everyone around us had something to say. Mature mother was right. We weren't from the same world. Being together would only lead to exhaustion. You'd be heartbroken. And I'd be tired and sad. That's just who I am, Grayson. There's a saying I've always believed in. If someone or something makes you sad, stay away from it. Grayson and I were college classmates. We were also each other's first love. In our early 20s, we loved each other with fiery, reckless passion. He had everything: good looks, his capability, and a powerful family background. He was always the center of attention. Even back then, in college, there were always people chasing after him, trying to get close. But Grayson shut them all out. He never gave anyone a chance. That was the kind of security he gave me. Pushed me forward, held my hand, stood by my side. Back then, his love for me was clear, unwavering. But reality is cruel. It tempts you with sweetness, only to hit you where it hurts. And in the end, it was the most cliché reason of all. Grayson's family arranged a fiancé for him. At first, he resisted, fought with them, even ran away from home. It felt like I was his entire world. To be honest, that pressure, that weight, became too much. Then came the wave: his mother, his uncle, their persistent arguments, and the perfect fiancé they kept praising, though I never met her. I grew tired, utterly exhausted. I began to feel at this gap between Grayson and me, that we were truly from different worlds. And then his mother threatened me, just like something straight out of a melodramatic TV drama. She said that if I didn't leave him, it wouldn't just be me who'd suffer, but the people around me too. There was no dramatic scene, no rainy breakup, no teary misunderstandings. I simply told Grayson the truth. I said I was tired. Love should be light, joyful, not a lonely battle against the entire world. I didn't know how much more pain was waiting for us down that path. And I didn't want to stick around long enough to find out, so I told him, let's stop. While things are still beautiful, the elders always say, marriage should be between equals. And back then, I agreed. So I broke up with Grayson. He looked at me in disbelief, told me he wouldn't accept it. I smiled and said, a breakup doesn't require mutual consent. He begged me, again and again, asked me to wait, said he'd fix everything, but I still walked away. Without hesitation, I still remember his last words to me, his voice cold, his gaze sharp. Francesca, I'll make you regret this. I swear. At the time I was heartbroken, devastated, and I believed he was too. Eventually, time heals everything. I never thought our reunion would look like this. The sudden ring of my phone cut through the silence between us. I glanced at the screen. It was a call from Lucas. Grayson's expression darkened further, his voice laced with cold mockery. "He still has the nerve to call you." Ignoring him, I answered. Lucas's voice was frantic, sharp, almost grating. "In my ear? Fran, where did you go?" "Listen to me." Didn't know she'd ask me to help her with that. I was just confused for a moment, that's why I agreed. "Lucas." I cut him off, my eyes briefly meeting Grayson's, who looked increasingly displeased. I was very clear when we agreed to try this relationship. We cannot betray each other. Even once, even in a moment of confusion. It's irreparable. "Let's break up, Lucas." And Fran, I don't agree. I gave a faint smile. Breaking up doesn't need mutual consent. And with that, I hung up and blocked his number. Grayson had been standing there the entire time, silent, unmoving. A quiet guardian. After a long pause, he finally spoke. "It's irreparable." I didn't notice anything strange at first. I assumed he was talking about Lucas. When someone makes a mistake, they have to face the consequences. Isn't that normal? But Grayson didn't respond. Only then did I realize something was off. I turned to look at him, his deep black eyes were locked onto mine, intense, unwavering. His voice was cold. But I didn't make a mistake back then. It was some coward who decided to leave me. She let go, said she was tired, said she didn't love me anymore. As he spoke, Grayson stepped closer, eyes fixed on me. His gaze pierced right through. "Francesca," he asked softly, "tell me who was really at fault." "Maybe Grayson hates me. He was once the golden boy. Yet for me, he humbled himself again and again. For someone like him, getting what he wants was never hard. Except for me." Double quotes Grayson. "Does it really matter anymore?" There was a brief silence. Then, suddenly, Grayson let out a soft, low laugh. He straightened, but there was no amusement in his eyes. "Well, it's been 6 years. What's the point in taking it seriously now?" Just as he finished, his phone rang. He glanced at the caller. I DN'd, just like that. The coldness faded from his face. His expression softened. He stepped away from me and answered. I could faintly hear a woman's voice on the other end. "Okay. Wait for me there. I'll be right over." The call was short. He hung up quickly. And yet, something stirred in me. Buried memories I thought were long forgotten suddenly resurfaced. Grayson loved filming. When we were together, he always carried a camera. He filmed everything's eating, shopping, traveling, even just sitting together. Doing nothing, he once handed me the camera with pride. "If you ever miss me," he said, "just watch these." I had scoffed. Said that day would never come. But after we broke up, I watched those videos. Again and again. His laughter, his eyes, his silly expressions. Back then they belonged only to me, and now watching him instinctively avoid my gaze, offering that same softness to someone else. It hit me. No one stays in the same place. Forever, not every reunion can fix what's been broken. Not for us, maybe. For someone like Grayson, the boy who has never rejected seeing me again, the girl who once left him behind. He still feels a little resentment. After that day, we didn't see each other again for a long while. Connections between people, some are deep, some are shallow. It all depends on how fate chooses to play. And then one day, I saw Grayson again, in a conference room. I remember thinking to myself, fate's mood today is hard to read. I had just taken my seat when the door burst open violently. Looked up Lucas. I hadn't seen him in a while. He looked awful. His face was pale, his shirt wrinkled. Stubble shadowed his jaw, and heavy dark circles under his eyes made it clear he hadn't rested in a long time. He stared at me. His eyes reflected something I couldn't quite place. A strange unease crept into my chest. I glanced toward my assistant, about to signal her, but I was already a step too late. Lucas walked toward me briskly, his voice filled with sorrow. "Fran, what did I do wrong? Why did you break up with me? We've known each other for over a year. Don't you know what kind of person I am? What happened that day was just a misunderstanding. As he spoke, I suddenly realized I didn't know what kind of person he truly was at all. Lucas was. Introduced to me by my mother, she was getting older, and seeing that I was nearing 30 without a boyfriend, she began to worry about my marriage prospects, so I gave in and agreed to meet him. The first time I met Lucas, he brought a bouquet of flowers. His shirt was neatly buttoned to the top, and he gave off a warm, pleasant impression. But years earlier, I had already met someone far more dazzling, and in front of someone like Lucas, however polite or well-groomed I, didn't even feel a flicker of interest. I made my disinterest clear during that first meal. But Lucas didn't give up. He said he'd wait, that maybe one day I'd feel something for him. And so he waited. For over a year, he was generous, considerate, gentle, reliable. Sometimes I even thought maybe being with him wouldn't be so bad. But I never felt that rush, that desire to go all in, except for one moment. A month ago, my mother had a relapse while I was away on a business trip. I couldn't get back in time. Lucas drove to my house in the middle of the night. He rushed her to the hospital just in time to prevent something worse. That night, he waited outside the operating room, never sleeping, sending me constant messages to reassure me. Falling in love is difficult. Falling at ease in a moment. Of panic, that's easy. I remember it clearly when I arrived early the next morning. I looked at him and said I'd give us a try. Lucas stood frozen for a moment before nodding. The way he looked at me then was full of affection. But I haven't forgotten the way he knelt on one knee to put a ring on his first love's finger. The human heart is the hardest thing to predict, whether that moment was confusion or a willing choice. Only he knows. Just like now, whether his regret is genuine, whether he truly wants to make up for it, or if he's just using pity, pressure, or sabotagingly, he knows. A burst of laughter broke the tension. A few claps echoed in the conference room. I turned and saw Grayson. His face was full of mockery. Lucas's face darkened instantly, but before he could speak, Grayson beat him to it. Mr. Key, your words are quite something. I was there that day. I saw you kneeling on one knee, proposing to someone else, and now you're calling it confusion? Grayson gave a cold smile. You must have been very confused. To say something that shameless? Lucas's face flushed red. What did you say, Lucas? I cut him off sharply. We're all adults. This could have been handled with dignity. But you insisted on making it ugly. You wanna know why I had to break up with you? I'll tell you clearly, because it disgusts me. Watching my boyfriend kneel and propose to his first love in front of me, that scene makes me sick every time I think about it. Lucas froze. After a moment, his expression twisted. He turned his fierce gaze toward Grayson. And what about? You don't think I don't know about those videos on your computer? They're all of her. For a moment, I found it funny. Funny that I had once genuinely believed we could be partners, that we could rely on each other. Seeing my faint smile, Lucas began to panic. I didn't go through your computer, he blurted. I just accidentally saw the videos when you were playing them. Accidentally? I echoed, shaking my head. If I let you see them, how could it have been an accident? I'll say this once, Lucas. I don't regret being with you, but I'm breaking up with you because you made a fundamental mistake, and I can't pretend it didn't happen. Lucas went silent. I waved my hand, signaling my assistant to escort him out. The farce was finally over. When I looked up, I caught Grayson staring at me intently. I ignored him. After quickly wrapping up the meeting, I headed straight for the restroom. My heart was pounding, not from excitement, but from anger, from frustration at the chaos. I thought those old feelings had long faded with time, but now they were like wild grass catching fire, spreading in an instant, and I was forced to remember what it felt like when those feelings first bloomed. Back then, I'd just entered university, full of energy and stubbornness. The student council. Department heads were always giving me tasks, moving this today, lifting that tomorrow. ... I didn't really mind, but Grayson started feeling sorry for me. Especially That one time when I fell down the stairs and scraped my arms and legs on the gravel, leaving them bruised and bleeding, I quietly bought some iodine and disinfected the wounds myself. After quickly patching myself up, I went back to moving things for the event. I didn't think it was a big deal, but Grayson clearly did. When he saw my injuries, his expression darkened. He was helpless against my usual nonchalance, but still, he squatted down in front of me and carefully reapplied the medicine. His brows were furrowed the entire time. "You're a girl. You don't have to be so tough," he said gently. "If it hurts, just say so. Who wouldn't help you?" Then he looked up at me, his eyes quietly reflecting every part of me. "You can show weakness, at least with me. Understand?" The world didn't fall silent, but it might as well have. There were voices, footsteps, people walking past us, but all I could hear was the deafening beat of my heart. Now, standing in front of the mirror, I calmly fixed my hair and makeup. When I left the restroom, I was startled to find Grayson leaning against the wall. He looked up the moment he heard my footsteps, his face unreadable. For a moment, I was at a complete loss. I thought he was about to mock me again. "Grayson," before I could finish, he stood up and in 2 quick strides pulled me into a tight embrace. "Francesca." His body was warm just slightly higher than mine and it wrapped around me like a memory I wasn't ready to revisit. I remembered back then. I told Grayson I wanted to break up. He didn't agree. But he also didn't know what else to do. So he held me tightly, as if by holding me close he could stop me from walking away. I had pushed against his waist with all my strength, said every cruel thing I could think of. But the tears just wouldn't stop falling. They soaked his shoulder. And ever since that night, the distance between us had always stayed at about a meter, neither of us daring to cross it. What was he going to say now? I didn't know. After calling my name, he just stood there silently. The only sound between us was the loud, irregular pounding of our hearts. I panicked and pushed him away. "Grayson, are you still?" A sudden ringtone sliced through the silence. He didn't move. He just stared at me for a long moment before pulling out his phone. I caught a glimpse of the caller ID. It was her, the same girl from that night. I felt a wave of helplessness rise in my chest. Turning my back to him, I said quietly, "You should answer your call first." But he didn't. The phone kept ringing. Instead, he grabbed my wrist, turning me back around to face him. "Francesca, what were you about to say?" I shook my head and tried to pull my hand away, but he didn't let go. His eyes stayed locked on mine. As the ringtone finally died down, he asked again, this time more softly, "Sophia, what were you going to ask me?" That name Sophia landed between us like a stone dropped into still water. Wrong. Out of place. I wanted to ask him if he still liked me. I wanted to ask him if he knew what he was doing. I wanted to tell him that whatever we had was over long ago. But before I could say anything, the ringtone started again. The words caught in my throat, stuck and unable to come out. He seemed to understand, but I think he misunderstood what I meant, still holding my wrist with one hand. He answered the call with the other, switching it to speaker mode. "Say what you need to say. If it's not important, don't bother me." "Wait, bro, why are you snapping at me?" the voice on the other end said, confused. "I was just calling to tell you that the thing you asked me to take care of a few days ago, it's all been resolved." Before the guy could finish, Grayson cut him off. "Did you hear that?" he said, turning to me. "That's my sister." His grip on my wrist tightened, but his tone turned oddly gentle, almost coaxing. "So, Sophia, what were you going to say to me?" I looked down at his hand and pulled it away forcefully. "How come I didn't know you had a sister?" "What? Does that have to do with me?" The voice from the phone chimed in quickly. "Sis-in-law, don't misunderstand. I really am Grayson's cousin. Please don't be mad or my big bro will definitely get back at me." Grayson cut the call. Then he looked at me, eyes deep and unreadable. "How could it not be related?" he said softly. "I have other brothers and sisters too, if you want to know. I'll tell you everything." He took a step closer. "Would that be all right?" Over and over I told myself I should clarify everything, make it all perfectly clear. Just as the ringtone was about to stop, I answered the call, but it wasn't Grayson's voice on the other. And, hello? Hello. Sorry to bother you so late, but your husband fell asleep at our bar after drinking too much. Could you come pick him up, my husband? Yes. You're listed as his top contact. The name he saved you under is quite interesting, something like Eternal Love. That night in the hallway, Grayson had stood still, looking at me with a mix of struggle and sorrow in his eyes. He had asked me, would that be all right? And I had refused him. Grayson was stunned. He left in a hurry, his eyes full of disappointment and frustration. At the time, I didn't understand. I thought he was just angry with me. It wasn't until now, standing at the bar, just one step away from his booth, that I finally understood. He wasn't angry because I rejected him. He was angry because he thought I'd already moved on. She really likes that Lucas. What's so good about him? Grayson's voice was slurred, but the bitterness was clear. She's with him, but she still has someone else in her heart. If I hadn't tipped her off, she'd still be fooled. His words hit me like a cold wave. That day, Lucas had told me he was going on a business trip, and I didn't question it. But then someone added me on social media and sent me photos of him and Fernanda together. Laughing, touching, being close. That's what led me to follow them. To discover the truth, someone sitting next to Grayson spoke up. I'm just saying, if she's fallen for someone else, maybe it's time for you to move on too. What are you really that hung up on her? Grayson didn't reply. He simply lifted his glass and took a deep drink. Then he draped his arm over the person's shoulder, raised one finger to his lips, and whispered, "Don't talk about her. You're not allowed to say bad things about her." He lowered his head onto the table, voice barely audible. I can't help it. I've only ever liked her, since so many years ago. I just regret it. I regret not being braver, not being more determined. Would everything have been different if I had? I couldn't give her a sense of security. I was useless, frozen in place. I stood there just a step away, yet I couldn't move. My legs felt heavy as if filled with lead. Grayson's love was too much, too heavy. 6 years of unspoken feelings came crashing down on me like a tidal wave, and I couldn't take a single step forward. Sigh. The boy who once had eyes only for me hadn't really changed, had he? This kind of pure affections, 6 years of quiet waiting, who wouldn't be moved by that? But just then my phone vibrated in my hand, pulling me back to the present. It was a message from Shen's mother. "Fran, I'm begging you. Could you please reply to Auntie's message?" I remembered. Back when Grayson and I had our first reunion, she had sent me 2 messages. "Did he go looking for you? Fran, you're a good girl. Auntie knows you're great. But he could have better. Options. I hate trouble. So, once again, I ran. The moment Grayson looked up and our eyes met, I turned and fled in panic. Behind me, I heard the sound of glasses clinking and chairs toppling over. I raised my hand quickly, hailing a cab. I didn't even look back until I was seated inside, and when I did, Grayson was just standing there on the sidewalk, alone, dejected. Staring at me as I drove away, I clutched my chest, wrinkling my shirt, was too afraid to glance at the rearview mirror again. The car stopped at my building's entrance. I dragged my exhausted body toward the elevator, home finally, but as soon. As the doors opened and I stepped into the hallway, I froze. Lucas was there, squatting by my door. When he saw it was me, he quickly stood up and rushed forward, wrapping his arms tightly around me. I didn't even have time to react. His grip was so tight that I couldn't help but frown. Lucas immediately loosened his hold, his voice trembling. "Fran, I was wrong. Please don't break up with me, okay? I really know I was wrong. I've already sorted things out with her. I promise it won't happen again." Before I could answer, he pulled me into another tight embrace, refusing to let go. His words spilled out, broken and desperate. "It was all my fault before. I don't even know what came over me. It's like I was possessed. I knew how hard I worked to win you over, and yet, I still let myself make that mistake." I let out a small laugh, uncertain whether it was mocking him or mocking myself. Lucas's grip tightened even more. I frowned. Placing my hands on his shoulders and trying to push him away, Lucas, our relationship, I thought you understood. It's only because you were suitable. His entire body went rigid, stared at me, stunned. Fran, what do you mean by that? I looked him straight in the eyes. I'm sorry. Lucas, but I never loved you from the beginning. Stop. Lucas cut me off harshly, his arms tightening as if he wanted to merge me into his very being. Stop talking, Fran, please. Just stop. So I said nothing. For a moment, the only sound in the hallway was our breathing. It almost felt peaceful, till Grayson appeared. The scene must have hit him like a knife. Without hesitation, he swung his fist straight into Lucas's face. Lucas stumbled back, his grip on me finally breaking. Grayson seized the moment, yanking me to his side and glaring at Lucas with a deadly intensity. Lucas reached out, as if to take me back, but I instinctively pulled away. His hand froze midair, trembling, before slowly dropping to his side. He let out a self-deprecating laugh. I get it now, he muttered. And with that, Lucas turned and walked toward the elevator. The door slid shut, and just like that, he was gone. Grayson's sharp gaze finally shifted to me. Without a word, he reached into my bag, grabbed my keys, and unlocked my door. Then, in one swift motion, he pulled me inside, pressing me against the wall. His movements were rough, hurried, but still careful enough to shield my head and back with his hands. Grayson, I started. You really like him that much? His voice was hoarse, trembling with anger. You'd let him do anything to you? Grayson's face was flushed, his eyes burning with a strange mix of fury and heartbreak. I couldn't tell if it was from alcohol or tears. I instinctively lifted my hand to wipe away whatever was there, but he caught my wrist midair. You're going to push me away again? He can hold you, but I can't? Francesca, answer me. Besides holding you, what else did you let him do? Before I could speak, Grayson grabbed my chin, forcing me to look at him. His grip was firm too. Firm. I winced at the pain, but he didn't ease up. Francesca. His voice was low, trembling, filled with despair. Why won't you answer? For a moment, I had no words. My mind was flooded with memories of the boy he used to be. 6 years ago, that pure bright-eyed boy. Now standing before me as a tall, mature man, but still with eyes only for me, I remained silent. Grayson seemed to understand, but it only made him laugh bitterly. I'm still not enough, am I? And then, without another word, he slammed the door behind him and left. The noise echoed through the empty apartment, leaving only silence. The kind of silence so sharp you could hear the neighbors chatting next door. A wave of sadness washed over me. For him. For us, I stood there for what felt like forever, and unable to bear it any longer, I opened the door just to see him one more time. But the hallway was empty. He won't come back this time, I thought. Maybe that's for the best. Clean start. I leaned against the door, my body sliding down until I was sitting on the floor, my face buried in my arms. It wasn't just him. I felt sad for. It was everything. Francesca. I froze. Franny, look up. The only people who ever called me Franny were my mom and Grayson. I slowly lifted my head. There he was, Grayson, standing right in front of me, eyes red and glassy, filled with both helplessness and tenderness. He reached out his hand. My fingers trembled as I placed my hand in his, letting him pull me to my feet. Grayson, Franny. His voice was low, firm, carrying a quiet strength. He looked at me with eyes that burned with determination. I don't care about anything else. I just want to ask you one thing. Do you really not have any feelings for me anymore? Not even a little? My chest tightened, and suddenly my eyes stung with tears. How could I not be moved by such unwavering persistence? After a moment of silence, I closed my eyes and squeezed his hand back. Grayson leaned in, resting his forehead against mine. His voice softened to a whisper. All I want is for you to like me, even just a little. The rational part of my mind snapped completely. Everything blurred. I didn't say a word. Instead, I lifted my head and kissed him. Grayson froze for a second, stunned. But then he took over, prying my lips open, forceful, unrelenting. His breath was hot, intoxicating. I felt my reason dissolving into the intensity of his kiss. When his sweat dripped onto my neck, I closed my eyes and clung to him tightly, the man he was now, and the boy he had been 6 years ago. I slept deeply that night. When I opened my eyes again, the room was dim. Only a few strands of light slipped through the curtains. Grayson sat in those faint beams of light, watching me with an expression so gentle it almost hurt to look at. "Grayson," I whispered, reaching out and curling my fingers around his. His eyes softened even more. He held my hand tighter. Our palms pressed together, and then a shadow fell across me. It was followed by his lips. He cupped my face with one hand, his fingers tangling in my hair as he kissed me, deep and intense. I let out a soft whimper, wrapping my arms around his neck, kissing him back. For a long time, all I could taste was him. All I could feel was him. When he finally pulled away, his nose brushed against mine. Then I noticed a cool sensation around my finger. I looked down. At some point, Grayson had slipped a silver ring onto it. I looked up at him. His voice was hoarse. "Francesca, I want to hold on to you." I gripped his hand tighter, fingers locking with his butt. I didn't say anything. After that day, Grayson and I got back together. When my mother found out, she didn't say much, but her eyes suddenly turned red. I took her calloused hand in mine gently and told her I would protect myself, that I wouldn't let myself get hurt again. Grayson's mother came to see me after work, rushing in like a storm. Usually she was elegant, composed, every strand of hair in place, but now her hair was a mess, her expression frantic. I sent Grayson a message, asking him to pick me up later. Once I got his reply, I turned off my phone and walked toward Mrs. Shen. "So, you finally came to see me," I said. Her eyes swept over me, full of disapproval. "If I didn't come, was I supposed to just let you ruin everything?" Stirred my coffee slowly. "Ruin what, Auntie? I don't remember owing you anything." Mrs. Shen's gaze sharpened, her jaw tightening. "Francesca, I thought you were a sensible girl. Have you forgotten the promise you made to me back then? Why are you still clinging to Gray? Dragging him down with you? Dragging him down?" I gave a faint smile. "Please don't joke, Auntie. I broke up with him back then. It wasn't because of you." She fell silent. Her expression darkened. "Don't try to twist the story," she snapped. "I've told you before, you're not the right match for Gray." Her tone shifted to that usual lecturing sharpness. "Fran, I'm thinking about what's best for both of you. You're young, you don't understand. Marriage isn't just about love. Do you know how rare it is for love to last? Call me selfish, call me cruel, but everything I do comes from a mother's heart. You say you love him but don't. You want him to have the best life he can? A proper match isn't something you can ignore, no matter who you are." Her words stung, and just when I was about to respond, another voice cut in, quiet, calm, and steady. "But Mom, have you ever thought that maybe Franny and I could have that great future too?" Grayson had appeared beside me. Data some point, he'd walked in. And now he stood in front of me, shielding me from everything. Mrs. Shen's eyes widened. Her chest rose and fell rapidly. Her face turned pale with fury. Fine, my son's grown up now, won't listen to his own mother anymore." Grayson didn't flinch. He held my hand, speaking softly but firmly. "I'll listen to what I should, but the rest, I hope you'll keep to yourself." After Mrs. Shen left, Grayson drove me home. The ride was quiet, smooth. When we pulled up in front of my building, I reached for my seatbelt, but before I could unbuckle, Grayson reached over and stopped me. "Francesca," he said, his voice low. I paused. "What is it?" I asked. He rolled the windows up. The dim light inside the car cast a soft glow on Grayson's hair as he looked at me, his Adam's apple moving slightly as he swallowed. "Will you trust me this time?" he asked quietly. "Be firm. I won't let you go again." I didn't respond with words. Instead, I pressed my hand against his, our palms gently touching. He lowered his gaze, and his long lashes cast deep shadows under his eyes. I lifted my hand and touched his face. What are you afraid I'll run away again? Grayson's lashes trembled. He covered my hand with his, rubbing his cheek gently against my palm. I'm terrified, he whispered. Hearing that, I couldn't help but smile, looking at the cautious man before me, his eyes filled with nothing but me. I softly said, All right? I curled my fingers and gently scratched his palm, smiling as I whispered, I agree. Grayson thought to himself that he was truly a terrible person. He was consumed with jealousy over Lucas. Every move Lucas made was scrutinized under a microscope, and when Grayson accidentally discovered that Lucas was involved with another woman, his first reaction wasn't sadness, it was a burst of satisfaction, followed immediately by rage. How could Lucas betray her? How could he hurt her like that? Grayson was furious. He even conspired with his cousin to set a trap, using clumsy, obvious tactics to lure her in. He wanted her to see it all with her own eyes, to witness Lucas's true colors. Then he would casually appear, just as he'd rehearsed in his mind over and over, all for a single chance to stand beside her again. He didn't want to be angry with her, but the pain in her eyes, it shattered him. He was afraid to even ask if she ever truly liked that man. Grayson felt like he was going mad with jealousy. During the 6 years he was gone, she had lived her life. She had someone by her side. Why? Why was he the only one still stuck in the same place? He was angry at himself. Angry that he had been so weak back then. Angry that it had taken him 6 years to become someone worthy. 6 years, people say that youthful love fades with time, but not for Grayson. He had spent those 6 years preparing, clearing every obstacle, building a future. All for a single chance to return to her. More than 2,000 nights. Haunted by the fear of being one step too late, he had known it for a long time. He was in too deep. He had known since the very first day they met. The sun had been high in the sky. Students from the roller skating club were practicing in the square. Grayson was just passing by. When he saw a girl fall to the ground with a loud thud, she landed right at his feet. Startled, rushed forward to help her. But before he could reach her, she waved him off with a smile and said, Sorry about that. I didn't mean to scare you. Grayson froze. By the time he processed what she'd said, she was already pushing herself back up. There was something so familiar, so practiced, about the way she did it. It stunned him, and then it hurt. When he knew, he liked her. Her brightness, her resilience. That effortless smile she gave him, even from the ground, Grayson thought. It's okay if she runs, he'll just keep chasing, because from the very beginning until now, all he's ever wanted was her, and the best part of all. He caught her,